Good morning, Garden of England. Beautiful morning. Just going to throw a blemished apple for the dog for a moment. There you go, Stella. On you go. Look at her go. Anyway, so in recent days I've been focusing on the beginning of Mindstore and finding those old tapes that were recorded back in, I'm assuming 1990, because that's when the copyright's on the label. Don't remember it, obviously, going way back. Remember the courses though. And one of the things I would say, as we got into the course would be that there's a lot of sexy stuff coming. If you think about that, that would be like programming, middle of the night programming, the whole thing about building up conversations within our coaches and all the rest of the wonderful stuff. But I would say to them, but you really need to be focused on the basics of especially delete that program. And what's amazing about Mindstore, and you need to remember this, is we're all human. We're all going to engage from time to time. We're all falling, as it were. We're going to, from time to time, engage in negativity. Oh, woe is me. Allow a scenario of something going wrong coming into your consciousness and let it run. A program for something that you don't want. But then there's this magic of Mindstore where you're immediately aware of it. You delete that program. You're no longer going to run the program. And what do? We replace it with the light. We replace it with the positivity. And then we focus on that and commit to that. Because positivity always will overcome the darkness of negativity. But it's our choice, and we've constantly got to be on guard. Now, another thing that's obviously been happening recently is I've risked myself to post some links. Some people don't like me doing this stuff, and I understand that. But you know what? Where can you sort of find a delineation between your mind and your body? They're just one and the same thing. So Mindstore's always about inputs. And so what I've been doing all my life is having to look at the alternative viewpoint for lots of reasons, from my own health, which I want to go into the big story of that. But right at the beginning, do you know what it would take me to, on those early courses that would last a day, from 9 till 7, and 4 of them in total right at the very beginning. Those courses, it would take till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, before I could trust that they would trust me to do a meditation. And what I mean by that, for them to trust me to close their eyes in public. That's how non-mainstream Mindstore was, and it's always been non-mainstream. And even recently, big left-brainers working against me in their organisations. But can you imagine what it was like in the beginning to get people to get into this work? And so Mindstore has always been. Now back then it would take me to 3 in the afternoon. Today, if I was invited to give a speech at a conference, I could have them closing their eyes in 5 minutes, because there's no longer that fear. But you better believe me, the fear back then was amazing. But I kept going. And I continue to keep going, interested in my body, what's happening to my body, what's happening to your body as we age. Because most of the people who follow me aren't youngsters. They're of an age. And to me, it's my responsibility, even if it upsets some people, to let them see what's happening outside of the mainstream. Mindstore's always been outside of the mainstream. And if you take Mindstore to its advanced places, like those of you who participate, or at least you did participate, on those healing pages, where have you gone? Because there's still cases there, and a good friend of mine needing your help. But that's controversial, isn't it? To the point where I know some of you would be willing to do the healing, but frightened to actually explain to the rest of us what you did. Because that would be recorded somewhere, wouldn't it? But you know what? The people that I bring to your attention, because I believe, and I'm being guided to bring them to your attention. I trust my intuition, my conversation with my coaches, just like I'm sure you do. And you know, to me it is sad that Robert Kennedy Jr. had to leave the Democrats. The Democrats, for goodness sake. And of course, Malhotra stands on a platform that I wish that this so-called Labour Party had embraced him long before now. Because the members of the Labour Party that I remember working with when I was a young, bright-eyed social worker in the East End of Glasgow, great stalwarts, they must be turning in their graves when you see what's happening. So I find that I will continue to be beyond the mainstream, looking under the surface, being willing to go and listen to people I don't agree with, or I assume I don't agree with, because where did I get my information from? From, guess what, the mainstream media. I mean, hear Malhotra talk about the role the BBC played in what happened when I was going on every Wednesday night on Facebook to see if I could help people, and took the risk to interview people who were listening to this begging to differ. I still beg to differ, and I've always done that. And so I would stand in front of salespeople at, you know, major conferences, 3,000 people in the audience or whatever, and I would say to them to completely not listen to their management, who told them to set realistic, achievable goals, but in fact to actually look at the facts. Because the men and women who've always inspired us weren't inspired by left brain control freaks, but in fact were inspired by the fact that they could see something in the future, something that so inspired them that they absolutely were committed to achieving it. And especially at the beginning, they had no idea how they were going to achieve it. They didn't have a plan. They just knew that whatever it was they could see in their mind's eye, that future was so inspiring. They constantly went back to the future to review it, and because of the power of the subconscious and the power of programming, they would start to take action. And you know the rest, because the people, the places, the opportunities, the ideas began to stack up at exactly the right moment that they needed to appear. But what they did, because they were controlling their thinking, they didn't say, oh no, this won't work for me. Oh, I don't like what I'm hearing here because it doesn't represent what I've been told. No, they acted on every one of them. And therefore, you and I benefit from the success of getting out of the comfort zone. And that's what Mindster's always been about. We're not mainstream. But, you know, you don't have to, I said consistently in courses, you don't have to agree with me. I could be wrong. I still could be wrong. But you know what? I don't think I am. The proof will be in the pudding. And if you haven't watched the interview yet with Eileen, or the 4 interviews with Kathleen, ask yourself this. Why? Why? And if you are aware of what we do on those 2 healing pages on Facebook, why do you not come and participate properly? As I said before, one day you will come to me asking for help, like I've come to you to ask for help. And it will be given freely and unconditionally. And the people who do participate on it, I'm ever so grateful for them. Because whilst we can't claim anything, over the years, the 30 odd years, there's just nothing but positive coincidences. But I'm not claiming anything, and neither can you if you participate. So Mindster's always been not normal, not ordinary. It's always been different. So why don't you trust yourself and expose yourself to stuff you might not like? I mean, I didn't want to look at the Malhotra interview, but John Campbell was the guy, Dr. John Campbell, who was the guy recommending it. And so I got over my challenge about that party to listen to what he was saying. Oh my goodness. And R.F. Kennedy getting bullied by those Democratic senators, not allowing him to speak, not answering his questions. They're not prepared to listen because, I wonder why. Anyway, guys, have a cracker. I might see you tomorrow. Bye now. Bye-bye.